You know that quiet phrase, it just sort of slips out. Or
Yeah.
maybe you just hear it in your own head when you finally get a second to sit down. Always tired.
Mm.
It's so common. It's almost like a greeting now. But when we say it, it's often, apologetic. There's this sense of embarrassment almost.
Like it's a personal failing.
Exactly. Like it's a confession that you're not coping. It feels
Yeah.
heavy, and not just physically. It's surprisingly morally loaded. Okay, let's unpack this.
I'm glad we are.
We are doing a deep dive today into a really remarkable piece of writing. It's an essay called Always Tired, and it's by Pedro Malha, who's the founder of the Ghosts movement.
And for anyone who isn't familiar with their work, it's less about, finding quick fixes and more about questioning the basic assumptions of modern life, the pace, the demand for utility.
That's a great way to put it. And our mission today is really to understand why this deep fatigue so many of us feel is, well, why it's so much heavier than just the physical feeling. Why does it come with this weight of, like, interrogation?
It's such a brilliant observation he makes because when tiredness becomes chronic, when it doesn't just go away after a weekend,
Right.
the internal monologue, it shifts immediately. It goes from, I am tired, to something more like, why am I like this? What am I doing wrong?
How can I fix this right now?
Exactly. And the essay doesn't reject the usual solutions. Sleep, diet, stress reduction, blood tests, all of that is often critical. But Malha focuses on the speed with which the justification is expected.
The justification for being tired in the first place.
Yes, and why that need to justify it creates this whole other crushing burden on top of the exhaustion itself.
I think that's so key. It's this burden of proof. We have to prove our fatigue is, I don't know, legitimate. That it's not just laziness or weakness or you're not trying hard enough. And honestly, just trying to build that defense case for your own exhaustion, that can be more tiring than the exhaustion itself.
Oh, absolutely. And in our culture, efficiency is like the highest good, right? So if you're tired, you are inefficient. And if you're inefficient, you are failing. This social contract that says we all have to be optimizing ourselves constantly.
Which brings us right to the first big idea in the essay.
The moralization of fatigue.
Let's talk about that, because this is where his work is so sharp. If being tired is read as being inefficient, then it starts to be seen as a failure to manage your life correctly.
Or a failure to organize yourself into that ideal person who can just keep going without complaint.
Right.
And at that point, Malha says, the relationship you have with your own tiredness starts to matter more than its actual biological cause. It stops being a signal.
It becomes a verdict.
It becomes a verdict. And the verdict is usually something like, you are not doing enough to earn this rest.
And we learn that so young, don't we? I mean, as kids, rest was always conditional.
Always.
You can rest after the homework is done, after your room is clean, after you've proven you're useful. So we internalize that.
And that judgment is relentless. The essay points out that in our world, real tiredness is almost never met with simple acknowledgement. It's met with resistance or this urgency to fix it or just a subtle judgment that you should be pushing through.
So when your body is naturally asking for rest, it feels like a debt you haven't paid off yet.
Precisely. And that's the mechanism that turns tiredness from a simple communication, a message, into an adversary, something you have to fight.
Or outrun, or just silence.
Yes. And that constant battle is what hardens the phrase, always tired. It stops being a temporary state and it starts to feel definitive, like it's part of your identity.
An identity you're failing at.
So let's shift to this fascinating comparison Malha draws in the essay. He looks at these people who, on the outside, just don't seem tired.
We all know them.
We do. They're alert, they're quick, they seem to have this continuous energy, and we tend to admire them or envy them. They're held up as proof that if we're tired, it must be our own fault.
Yeah, you look at them and think, what are they doing that I'm not? What's their secret? You assume it's just superior management of their life.
But Malha offers this really profound insight. He suggests that what's different between the always tired person and the always energetic person isn't necessarily the presence of depletion. I mean, everyone gets depleted.
Okay.
It's the way that depletion is lived, the way it's expressed.
So you're saying on the inside, the battery level might be just as low, but the outward presentation is totally different.
That's the core idea. For some people, the internal feeling of tiredness is instantly converted into outward movement, stimulation, a continuous focus on the next thing.
They're pushing away from the feeling of slowing down.
Exactly. And the essay suggests that for some people, actually slowing down is perceived by their nervous system as more existentially threatening than exhaustion itself.
Wow. That's a huge idea. That could explain why some high achievers just can't stop. They fill every second of rest with another activity.
Because if they stop,
The exhaustion they've been running from might actually catch up.
yes, the body is compelled to keep that forward momentum going to avoid feeling the weight of everything it's carried. So what looks like boundless energy on the outside. Malha argues it can often be driven by deep tension on the
They're
inside.
kind of bracing against the crash.
A high-level nervous system bracing, yes. They just override the signals until the body forces them to stop, maybe through illness or burnout.
And then he talks about the other type, right? The
Uh,
people organized around usefulness.
Yes, the ones who feel this deep need to be responsive. To every email, every text, every single expectation, their bodies are just on high alert, constantly postponing rest because the demands never stop.
This totally reframes the whole idea of energy. It's not about having it or not having it. It's about how we negotiate with tiredness.
We all negotiate.
Some people postpone it. Some, like you said, move around it by staying tense. And some just surrender to it.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
If the underlying physical reality of depletion might be similar for everyone, then the suffering must be coming from somewhere else.
Right.
And the essay's conclusion is that what creates the suffering is not being tired. It's the rigidity in our relationship to it.
Yeah.
The inflexibility.
Rigidity is the perfect word. It means you only have one acceptable way to be. Your internal rule might be, I can only rest when everything is done, which is never.
Or, I can't admit I'm tired. It's a sign of weakness.
And when your body naturally hits its limit, that rigid rule just slams into reality, and that friction is intensely exhausting in itself.
But we have to be careful here, right? We're not saying this is all just a mindset problem.
Oh, absolutely not. And the essay is very clear about this. This relational idea doesn't dismiss clinical causes for a second.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Of course. I mean, crushing fatigue is tied to depression, to trauma, chronic illness, neurodivergence, hormonal changes. I mean, the list goes on. Those realities need medical care. They need support.
So this is about adding a layer of understanding, not replacing a diagnosis.
All right.
We're talking about the cultural and internal weight that gets piled on top of the physical reality.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is that even when the tiredness is, heavy and medically significant, the way you carry it day to day still makes a huge difference.
How so?
Well, you can contrast the stances. You can be chronically tired and at war with it, right?
Mhm.
Which just makes everything tighter. Or tired and resigned, sort of collapsed in hopelessness.
Also-
Or, and this is the goal, you can be tired and gently accommodate it where you can.
So accommodating it doesn't make the illness go away, but it changes the texture of your daily life. It shifts the experience from self-punishment to maybe self-compassion.
That internal shift is critical because Malha details what truly exhausts people the most. And in the end, it's not just the physical depletion.
That's the argument.
It's the constant internal argument with the fatigue. It's the self-surveillance, am I tired enough to deserve this rest? It's the effort to look like you're not affected.
So we're putting in all this extra mental and emotional labor, just policing our own need for rest. It's like a second job you never clock out from.
It's an exhausting argument with your own body. And if you accept that, it leads to the core reframe in the essay. What if tiredness isn't evidence that something has gone wrong?
A problem to be solved.
But what if it's simply evidence that something has been carried? Yeah.
That's powerful. It shifts everything from a moral failure to just a neutral fact of effort. Tiredness is proof of effort, not proof of failure.
The ghosts movement calls it a form of return, a signal that the body is drawing inward after being pulled outward. It's not an enemy, it's a threshold. It's just marking the edge of what you've given.
And acknowledging that our resources, emotional, physical, are finite.
They are. And this reframing changes what happens when you meet that threshold. When you meet tiredness with hostility and shame, the essay says it tightens, it escalates, it isolates you.
But if you meet it with just recognition,
It can soften. When you can say, oh, I see what I've carried this week without judgment, it can soften.
and that softening is huge. It takes away that added layer of self-accusation, which he argues is what makes modern fatigue feel so crushingly heavy.
The lesson really is that tiredness becomes most painful when it's treated as a personal failure instead of just a human condition.
So what does this all mean? The essay isn't offering a 5-step cure. It's suggesting a more flexible approach. It's encouraging you to explore things like resting without needing a perfect justification, or continuing with your day without punishing yourself for feeling slow.
Or maybe just stopping that internal interrogation for a minute, long enough to actually notice what your body's trying to say instead of immediately fighting it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the message is that your tiredness doesn't need to be solved or overcome or even proven legitimate in order to be honored.
It can just be met.
It can just be met.
And meeting it that way, without all the moral judgment, that can change the shape of a day. Maybe even the shape of a whole season of your life. So if always tired feels like a description of where you are right now, the signal of long carrying, what specific internal rule about earning rest, that one you probably learned as a kid, what if you just lift that rule just for today? Something to think about.